There are times where we just let ourselves justify sitting and doing nothing, right? And there are times where we say, hey, it's going to be a pretty tough road, or what if this happens, or I don't want to do this. And you were kind of in that, at that crossroads. And most people, Tess, don't make it past that, frankly.
Hi, I'm Wyatt. And I'm Grace. And you're listening to our dad and your host of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Sean Moore, and I'm really excited about our episode today because I get to talk to an amazing person in getting into the short-term rental game. And I love talking about journeys into short-term rentals with some really fun people. So Tess Bessent is joining us. And Tess, I appreciate it. We're going to have a fun conversation about all things leading you into short-term rental world. So thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Happy to be here, Sean.
Awesome. Likewise. And so it's going to be a fun conversation. I was telling Tess before we hit record, you guys that listen to this podcast, you know that these are just really good conversations, really honest. We talk about, there's nothing that is off the table. And I love when I always ask before I hit record, is there anything you do or don't want to talk about? And I love when Tess answered me and she said, nope, I'm an open book. We can talk about anything, because we do like to talk about the ups and the downs so we can all learn from them. Right. And that's the whole goal of this. And then, it's always nice to hear from somebody that's a few steps ahead of you in the game. And so, Tess, let's start with where you're from. Where are you guys? Tell us a little bit about the family situation, where you're from, and then kind of what led you into getting interested in the short-term rental world in the first place.
Absolutely. So I'm sitting here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I'm here with my husband and my two children. I've got a 2.5-year-old boy and 5-year-old girl. So they're my
staying busy.
Staying busy. Yes.
Yeah.
Loving being involved in real estate. So kind of just a quick snapshot. I have been investing for a little bit over 2 years now. I have a background in beverage sales. That's what brought me here to Vegas. So okay. I worked in big casinos. But after my second was born, it was time for a change. I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but you begin to redefine your priorities, right? And gaining some time freedom back was of utmost importance to me. So I made the shift into real estate investing, and I started with flipping and long-term rentals through the BRRRR method. So I was, buying those good old distressed properties, rehabbing them, refinancing them, and then finding the right tenants.
Nice. And were you keeping them long-term when you put the tenants in, or were you going to resell them?
Well, it really depended on the property, right? There were certain properties that we would buy with the intention to sell as flips. But then there were other properties that we bought with the intention to rent. And I will say there were properties we bought with the intention to flip that ended up becoming
being a rental. Yeah.
Yes. I have a few of those as well. So.
Right. And that was 2 years ago. You got into that and started doing that?
Correct. That was about 2 years ago. It was, a total 180 shift from what I was doing.
Yeah.
I dove in, had some mentors, right, that helped me along the way and some guidance. And I dove in I was all in, Sean. I mean, in the first year.
That's a surprise to me. That's weird after knowing you for a little while that you actually dove all in. I say that jokingly. Those of you that can't see my face listening, but it was, that doesn't surprise me at all, I should say.
Yeah. So and I did the wholesaling, all the things that you do as a beginning real estate investor. And it was a lot of fun, right? And, what I like to say about my journey in real estate investing is it taught me what I enjoy, right? And it taught me what I really didn't want to do any more of, I've loved every part of the journey. I would not rewrite any of my real estate investing journey.
Love it.
That said, as I began to really hone in on certain, asset classes and strategies, right? It's really what guided me here to short-term rental investing. I've been in hospitality my whole life in one way, shape, or another, whether it was in, my event planning career or my sales career. And I missed really that hospitality and host aspect of business, right? And I wasn't getting that in flipping and my long-term rentals. And when I really started to, understand what the short-term rental space was all about, I was like, why aren't I there? Like, why aren't I focused there? Like, this is where like my heart is most happy. I love traveling with my family, and we stay in Airbnbs when we travel. So all the pieces just started to line up. And, while I haven't turned a blind eye to the other strategies, right, my focus has really pivoted to short-term rentals moving forward.
Yeah. And it's a lot of times the journey begins with other real estate assets, right? And different avenues in real estate. And one of the most important decisions is really navigating your way to decide on what passive income vehicle is going to be the right fit for you, right? Because every asset class has pros and cons. Like you said, I wouldn't trade I wouldn't have changed any of the journey, even though I might not be wanting to do some of that, because you learn a lot, right? You learn what you like, you learn what you don't like. You can make some money along the way while you're doing it. And there's a lot that can be said about being able to like look into other assets and really experience them to decide, is this really what I want to do or not? Because short-term rentals aren't for everybody, right? I always say that. I love them, right? They check a lot of boxes off for me. You're finding that, like you said, that's where your heart is most happy, like is in this world, and being able to combine a lot of the benefits of investing in real estate, but combine your love of hospitality and those types of things into the short-term rental game. So you started to say, okay, maybe this is an asset class that I like to look into. You mentioned you had other mentors. Was it did you meet somebody along the way that was succeeding in short-term rentals that you saw on the sidelines, or did you just start to come to that conclusion based on what you like and what you don't like in the real estate game?
I think it was more of that, Sean, because in my original, mentorship for real estate, they taught us all the strategies, short-term rentals included, right? But it was, and I'll be honest with you, it was easier to get into the game through wholesaling, flipping, and long-term rentals, right? So that's kind of where I hunkered down, made quite a bit of mistakes, right? Whether that was location or choosing the right power team, to have behind you. Also met a lot of great people, right? But I think it was through the doing, through taking action, I figured out really what was the best strategy that suited my needs.
Love it. Love it. And how long ago was that? When did we start to dive in to say, we kind of like this short-term rental game. We're going to start to dive in all in on that and start to run down that road?
I would say that was about 6 months ago.
Okay. Yeah. So 6 months ago, we, not too long after we made the trip to Vegas then and had a little paintball fight, right? It was
right. That's right.
That was right. We came to your backyard and we started shooting paintballs at each other with one of our meetups. That was fun. That was a fun time. So that was right at the beginning of your journey.
It really was, and it was like when I not decided to come and join you guys, for the mastermind, but I was like, the stars are aligning. Right. Yeah. I probably was juggling about 5 projects at that time. And I kept using those projects as an excuse not to move forward with short-term rentals, right? What if these projects don't go as planned, right? What if I have to dip into the nest egg to support these projects more than I anticipated, right? There were all these, quote, excuses. And then it was like you guys were coming out to Vegas. I was having that itch. I knew that short-term rentals was where I wanted to go. So, after joining you guys at the mastermind, I was like, I'm done with these excuses. Like, there's no reason that I can't move forward today. And the truth of the matter, Sean, is guess what? Projects did not go as planned, right? I did have to dig into the nest egg to support those projects, but I found a way. Right. I found a way to continue pursuing my dream, which was to really pivot and lean into short-term rentals. And that's what I tell people is like, look, you can have a lot of excuses and they're just that. They're excuses. If you're committed to an outcome, you will figure out a way to get there. And I was on the fast train, right? Probably June, July of last year. And I said, I'm done with this. I'm done with giving myself excuses. It's time to go.
Yeah, I love it. And I love that last 2 minutes of you talking, if people go rewind it, those are the things that keep me fired up about doing what we do, is just working with people like you, right? To say, hey, listen, because here's the reality. One, we all give ourselves excuses at times in our lives. There are all times that every single one of us, doesn't matter how productive and how much of a go-getter you think you are in your own life, there are times where we just let ourselves justify sitting and doing nothing, right? And there are times where we say, hey, it's going to be a pretty tough road, or what if this happens, or I don't want to do this. And you were kind of in that, at that crossroads. And most people, Tess, don't make it past that, frankly. Sadly, it saddens me that most people won't just do exactly what you did and say, hey, listen, I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm going to run down this road. I'm going to figure out what I did back here. And like you said, it didn't maybe work out the way that you were hoping it would have worked out. You had to get resourceful. You had to figure it out. But guess what? Like you said, you did it, right? And when you do hard things, all of a sudden the next hard thing that pops up, you're like, that's not as big of a deal. And then the next thing, all of a sudden we start to build this habit of being able to go through hard times and go through hard things and roll up our sleeves and put in the work. And before you know it, you look back and you don't realize, holy crap, look how far I came. Look what I've done in this 6 months, right? Look what position I put myself in by making that decision 6 months ago to say, I'm not going to let this keep me on the sideline. And I love listening and hearing stories like that, because it's, it happens all day, every day, but it's the majority, or the minority rather than the majority of the time. A lot of people will let those things just keep them on the sideline. I love when we talk about, hey, things weren't perfect. And so let's talk a little bit about that. What did you have to do when you started? Because sometimes, like you said, you made the decision to start moving forward, and then when things don't go as planned on the other investments or whatever, a lot of times that's another point that we have to make a decision of continuing to move forward, right? Sometimes that's another time where you're like, I have to dip into my savings. Maybe I won't buy this short-term rental. Maybe I'm going to hold off on an acquisition, right? You have to make tough decisions along the way. And so I'd love to talk through that, because especially when it wasn't easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to share. So, I think I had 2 flips going on at that time, and I had 2 other renovation projects, right, which were planned rentals. But one of the flips didn't pan out as a flip, right? It's still sitting on the market. And I'm currently today working on the refinance, getting a tenant in, right? Yeah. And when you're anticipating, let's say $40,000 coming in through the door, right? And that, poof,
not there,
evaporates, right? Now the equity's in the property, right? It's just not in my bank account, right? And it's like, I was not counting on that money, but it would have been nice to have that money in reserves to say put against an additional short-term rental acquisition, Other examples would be rental properties, especially during this time period, anticipating a certain value to come in from the appraiser, right? Yeah. And that value maybe not coming in, right? So loan to value being cut, right, by various lenders due to the terms and the nature of the economy, right? Things that are really out of my control. And so, I did have to come out of pocket more than I anticipated for a few of these projects, right, to close them. And the fact of the matter is, I wasn't going to let those that they're not even issues, but those realities hold me back from continuing forward. And I talk to a lot of people that, the objection is always, oh, I don't have the money, right? I don't have the finances saved. And I hate to just like call bullshit and excuse my language, but it's like, you guys, where there is a will, there is a way. And I found the way, right? And the way that I decided to move forward, I had a few options, right? But I decided to find the right equity partner in my first project. And that is how I committed to that path, right? To be through my short-term rental journey.
There is one thing that can make or break your success with short-term rentals, and that's your ability to provide your guests with an amazing night's rest. Personally, I have these custom mattresses in every one of my short-term rentals. We love them so much that we even got them in our own personal homes here in Utah. So visit VodySleepSystem.com and use the promo code podcast. It's all caps at checkout to get 55% off.
The start of it, at least, right? And so that's what I really started working on was, it boils down to everything that we teach, right? Finding the right market. I found the right property. And once I had those things, I started talking to people and seeing who was interested in this opportunity, and then understanding who was the right partner for me, because that is so critical. I mean, you and I have talked about that a little bit as well, right? And it's like, you just don't throw the doors open and welcome anyone in. Right? You got to find the right person to work with long-term on these things. And I had a very, diligent process that I followed in order to find that person.
Yeah. Which is huge. Right. And I love that you call it out just to say, hey, listen, because we hear all the time, you're part of our strategy team now, where you jump on the front end and talk to people that are thinking about getting into this game. And you hear all the time, well, I've got this going on or this going on. And you almost just, try not to roll your eyes in the back of your head. Like, come on, that's nothing. Like, let me tell you what I did. Right. And we don't do that. We just, we don't want to be the one upper, but at the same time we have to be resourceful at times. And that's exactly what you did. Those of you that don't understand how big of a deal a refinance not coming in at the end of a BRRRR type of a strategy that does that. What that means is you buy a property, you renovate it, and then you're going to refinance it to pull some of that capital back out. And then you're going to either sell it or rent it again, right? Or, rent it, but it's going to have new financing, because you usually get really short-term financing on the front end, right? And you've got a lot of capital in, high interest rate, short-term loan. So you have to hit that refinance number at the end. And so when that doesn't come in, all of a sudden you have a lot more capital invested in this than you were planning on leaving into a deal. And so those are real issues that you have to deal with as an investor. And like you say, when somebody says, I don't know if I have this, or I don't have the time, right? I heard somebody say, not having the time is like the adult equivalent to the dog ate my homework. It's just the craziest excuse, right? It doesn't, which I like that. Yeah. It's just, that's not true, right? You do have the time if it's a priority. And frankly, most of the time when you think you can't move forward because you don't have the money or anything else, if you're a little bit more resourceful, you'll figure out a way to do it, just like you had to do. And then moving into the partnership, right? That's another conversation that a lot of people ask about. And you hit the nail right on the head when you said you've got to be really, really selective of the right partner. The right partner can be, it can be beautiful. Like it's worth its weight in gold. It can be a really great experience. The wrong partner can be the exact opposite of that, right? It's like a nightmare. And it's not just somebody that's willing to invest with you, right? You have to figure out, okay, what does everybody bring? What is their capacity? What is my capacity? How are we going to merge this together to be a very symbiotic relationship? And just because somebody has the money and wants to write a check doesn't mean they're going to be a great partner. Right? Because you had more than one person. I know that when we talked originally about this, you had a number of people that you were considering that wanted to invest with you.
Right. Yep.
Right.
I did.
And so how did you, let's talk a little bit about that, because we'll just kind of keep rolling down the timeline of that acquisition and making offers. Because once you identified a market, location, properties, and people are getting more serious about it, what were the things that were important for you in a partner?
Yeah, first and foremost, I wanted someone who, and this was actually, I learned, I will say, Sean, I did learn as I went on this first one exactly what I was looking for, because I have two other partners in other transactions. One is a rental and one is more of a flipping business. But when it came to a long-term relationship, I was like, what am I really looking for?
Yeah.
And, I think when I started speaking to a lot of people, a lot of the times there felt like there was a lot of pressure to hit a number, to hit a target, right? A return on investment. And look, I have experience in real estate investing, but I was very aware that this was my first short-term rental, right? Yeah. And so I did not want to overpromise and underdeliver. So it was important to me that there was another element than just the financial gain that my partner had, right? There was more to it than just making money. And when I spoke to this woman, there was an emotional component to it. Okay. I don't know if you can see, for those of you who can, I'm wearing a Notre Dame sweatshirt, and that's where our rental is, in South Bend, Indiana. And she had gotten into Notre Dame. She had been accepted, but she couldn't go. For one reason or another, she couldn't go, right? And so there was that emotional connection. She's like, I would love to have a property in Notre Dame, right? And to be able to visit it and, take her friends there. And of course, during the right time period, Sean, right? We understand,
Sure. Yeah.
like, you don't go visiting when, they're playing USC.
Not during football season. Yeah. We're not going on game day weekends.
Right. Yeah. But there was this, there was this nice balance of, what, I want to learn how to do this, alongside you, Tess. You're the lead. You're the one who's going to be making the decisions when it comes to design and management and all those important pieces, right? She came to the table as my capital partner, and she's like, I would like to learn alongside you, knowing that you're the lead, right? You're making all the decisions. But there was also that emotional element of, Tess, I don't need you to give me like an 8% return on this investment. She's like, I'm happy to have a property with you in Notre Dame, right? And that is what felt comfortable to me, as opposed to the pressure of having to give a preferred return, right? And if I didn't hit that preferred return, what did that mean for me? What did that mean for them in the future? And that got stressful, thinking about not hitting a number for an investor. So when I found someone where there was another element to the investment, that is what I felt most comfortable moving forward with.
That's awesome. And I love how you said you kind of had to learn what was important to you along the way when you start talking to people, right? And what felt good, what felt pressure, like where was I uncomfortable? Like it was, and you realized, like, you navigated, okay, what is comfortable for me? What isn't comfortable? And on that first one, in most partners that are just capital partners, like 9 out of 10 of them are going to say, hey, what is the return? How are we chasing it? What are we doing? What's my pref on this? And how does it look? Like, it's just all numbers, right? Yeah. And then you keep having those conversations, and you meet somebody that's like, hey, listen, I'm kind of interested in this asset class. It'd be really fun to own this type of a property. They wrap and get emotional about the actual ownership of the area you're buying into and what's going on. And you're like, okay, this is a little different conversation, and it stands out like a sore thumb, right? You're like, okay, this conversation seems so much better and felt better to you than these just strictly, I'm just chasing numbers type of investors or capital partners. And ultimately you put it together. But the reason you were able to do that, my guess is this wasn't the first conversation you had. I'm guessing you had multiple conversations before this one surfaced.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I will say she was actually the first person that I spoke to. However, I did have several conversations with people who were interested in this opportunity. And I had a lot of great conversations, Sean. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it was like that one stood out, right? And I had a few with this partner in particular and some other people, right? But this one, just kept rising to the top in terms of what I felt comfortable with, the not the reasoning behind it, but kind of what our premises were, right? What we were trying to accomplish together. She was also looking to build a short-term rental portfolio, and she was thirsty to see, what is she doing, right? What's her plan? How's she going to do this? And it's been so fun to have her along in this journey, right? As we, do the Vodacy model. She's like, I never thought we would be looking at large format art and picking out pictures on, iStock, and just the creative element has been so much fun because, I'm working with Mike, and we've had a lot of fun, in the design process phase.
That's awesome. So that was so we identified South Bend. Did you identify the property before you partnered with her as well? Or did you just identify, here's what we're going to go do, and then we went and identified properties to buy?
I had identified the property.
Okay. Yeah. So you knew you could show her the deal, the tangible, here's what we're doing, right?
Correct. Yeah. That's how I did it for this particular property.
Yeah.
So got the property.
And honestly, that's probably when you're in the beginning and you're bringing on an investor and you haven't had the experience, and especially the first time somebody's going to invest with you, typically you do have to have the whole deal put together, right? You do have to kind of have the deal, and then you're under the gun to try to find it. But you knew you had these conversations to have, right? You had a number of people you could have these conversations with, and so it is easier when you're trying to bring partners on to actually have the full deal, right? Because Otherwise, you really don't know a yes or a no, because everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, I'd be interested. Show me when you have the deal, right?
Yes,
If you go too early.
Exactly. And I will say, you did hit it on the head there, where it's stressful. It's stressful when you have like found the property, you have committed to a close date, right? There is a tight due diligence period. And, but again, Sean, where there's a will, there's a way. I knew I was going to find the right partner. And if I didn't find the right partner, I knew it wasn't the right fit for me. You know, I have a very strong feeling about that. You know, things come when they're supposed to come.
Love it.
But
that's awesome. And so just unpacking this for those that are listening and following, and just, you know, this is a pretty amazing journey to this stage where we're saying, okay, listen, we decided we're going to get into this game 6 months ago, roughly. And we're going to say, okay, we're committed to short-term rentals. I've still got these other deals going on. And all of a sudden we start running down the road and the other deals aren't panning out the way we were hoping they were going to pan out, which means a lot of your capital is still tied up into some of these deals. So you can't deploy it into the short-term rental game. Instead of giving up and saying, I'm waiting, you're saying, okay, I'm just going to go continue down this road. And now I'm going to have to bring on a partner and figure this out along the way. And so for those of you listening, if you're giving yourself excuses, look in the mirror and say, is that what Tess would do? Because I doubt that she would sit there. So we'll start to ask, what would Tess do? You know, I'm gonna wear that wristband. So because we don't stop, right? And so and that's why I love how resourceful you were in this journey, in this process. And so we're recording this end of January, right? We went under contract when?
We went under contract, I want to say in November, closed in December.
Yep.
Now we're in the, design and setup phase. I'm headed out there next weekend. Both my business partner and I, we're going to go, our plan there is we're going to come prepared to the house and have all the links, ready to fire essentially for the ordering, make sure everything's measured out correctly. And then we'll start she is flexible enough, that she can work not from anywhere, but she has the flexibility to live in the house for a few weeks. And so she'll probably receive in a lot of the furniture, and help us kind of build out from there. And I'll fly out and be a touch point, as frequently as I can, but with the husband and 2 kids, I gotta,
they're going to miss you if you're gone too much.
Exactly. I got to play that one right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's so right in the middle of the setup phase right now. I mean, that's I always tell people the acquisition phase is a tough phase. It's short-lived. The setup phase is the toughest phase, I believe. And to dial it in, do it correctly, because we're trying to do it fast because we want to launch as soon as possible. So it's a lot going on in a short period of time, logistically trying to get everything picked out, ordered, set up, but also even in the, when you're under contract, I'm sure that you guys were having conversations about who's our target audience? How are we going to design this? What are we going to set it up like? So share a little bit about that, because we're huge on kind of identifying a target audience and creating a great, unique experience. I mean, I kind of have an idea what that experience is, but let's share with me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely. And, I was speaking to my realtor about it when we were standing in the house. I was talking about my vision a little bit, and she paused me and she goes, Tess, please don't go too far away from the Notre Dame theme, or you are shooting yourself in the foot. Right. And I'm like, don't worry, Christina, I'm keeping the Notre Dame theme. Right. And just to bring you up to speed a little bit, Sean, I bought a turnkey short-term rental. Right. So I would call it, I don't want to call it maybe an underperformer, right? But in our terminology, right? It was doing okay. But I saw a lot of potential there. Yeah. So, obviously I'm going to really lean into the Notre Dame theme, and I'll reveal we believe we're pretty set on the Golden Dome getaway. So we're leaning into, the Golden Dome. Obviously, if you know Notre Dame, you know that's, an iconic landmark there. Yes. But Golden Dome also leaning into the golden helmets of all the sports, right? So football, ice hockey, lacrosse. I am alumni collegiate athlete, right? So college athletics is near and dear to my heart. So I wanted to pay homage, right, to college athletes and not just lean in on football, right? I'm a diver, and who knows anyone everyone seems to know a diver, but my point is it's a small sport. right?
Sure.
And I kind of wanted to like give some credit to some of the other great sports that Notre Dame has through theming out the different bedrooms to these sports, but leaning into the Golden Dome idea with the helmets, and it's going to be super cool. We're really excited about it.
That's fun. That's really fun. And so, and I love the idea of not that you can't, have a great property centered just around football, obviously the major sports, but I love the idea of wrapping like just all of the college sports in, because when you do that, like, right, when there's a track meet, or there's something, somebody's going to a diving meet or a swim meet, and those are different times of the year than football. And so you start to become known, and all of a sudden when parents and friends and family are coming in to watch those athletes perform, then they're going to be drawn to a property that kind of, like you said, pays homage to other sports outside of that. And so yet the major football season and game days and everything, it's still super attractive. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see it. And I love that you said where you bought a turnkey rental, right? We see this all the time, right? We look at properties all the time. We're like, okay, I see the potential there. This is actually a really nice property. It's set up really nice. It's got a lot of the case goods that I need. The furnishing's fairly congruent design theme. And then all of a sudden I can come in and accessorize it and really theme it, like give it the spin that we're trying to do, tell the story that we're trying to tell. Like you're saying, you were going to tell the Golden Dome story and bring it to life and breathe some life into it. And all of a sudden it's a whole different property. Yet you're not having to furnish the whole thing from scratch.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun, right? And so I love that you shared that. So the target audience is still people that, family, friends, fans coming in to Notre Dame South Bend to enjoy and really immerse into college athletics.
Yes, you nailed it. So
yeah.
I know how many parents and friends and families came in, right, to support our team, right, when we had our events. So I know that. There's so much traffic coming to Notre Dame, and it's not just football, right? It's not just graduation and parents moving kids in and off campus.
Right.
In that collegiate athlete world, I mean, parents are traveling all the time to support their kids. And so I saw a niche there, right? And I really wanted to hone in on that.
I love it. And then, and there's obviously things on the marketing side that you can do to get in front of some of these other programs and coaches, because they want to know what's out there and available, right? Because they're going to tell the kids and the parents that, hey, go check out this property. If it's available, it's a really fun one to stay at, because, so there's a lot of things I love. Like I've been talking on a number of podcasts, some of my top market picks, and I think it's probably why you started looking in South Bend, was we like some of these college towns like a lot right now, because like you said, it's not just football season or graduation or parents coming in when schools are starting or getting out to get kids moved in or out. It's all year long, and there's things going on all the time. And like you said, how many friends and family and parents are always traveling to go see those kids, and a lot of these areas, they're not major metropolitan areas with a whole bunch of, hotels. It's not Vegas, let's say, right? You're not. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're right in the middle of setup. Excited for you to get that wrapped up. I know that the setup is stressful, but the more organized you are with setup, and you can lean into it, have some fun with it. It really is it's a stressful time, a short-lived time, but it does 95% of the heavy lifting once you launch. Long-term marketing wise, you got 3 to 5 year run before you probably have to even upgrade or do anything, right? And outside of, and it does most of the heavy lifting on the marketing side. So you're gonna, what is our launch date? What are we trying to do, and what are we trying to hit launch date wise?
I would say we're aiming for early March at this point. I think once we're there next weekend and we understand really what the delivery schedule will look like, for some of our larger case goods, the artwork, once that's ordered, that will determine it. But if we can get off the ground in early March, we would like to, because we understand the high season as really starting June, July, and then it just ramps up from there. So if we can get a few months under our belt, right, up on the big OTA sites and really hone in and, I would say refine our marketing and all the little things that matter, right, in the beginning, we'll be ready to go and welcome in the high season.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see the launch. Can't wait to see the property, the finished product. Now, you said you bought a turnkey property that was already operational as a short-term rental. When they were selling it, did they close it off, or did you have them close it off? I'm assuming if you guys are going there and your partner's going to stay, that the property is not is it active right now, or are you still accepting guests as is, or did you guys take the road of, hey, we're going to close on it, we're going to shut it down until we relaunch?
I made the decision to shut it down.
Yeah.
So because we were launching such a unique, different experience, I didn't want there to be mixed messaging, right? Like, this is what we are, right? And we're just kind of picking up where the old owners left off. And we're trying to make a little bit of money while we do this.
Yeah.
I did not want to send that message. To me, this is a completely new experience. So it was important to me that we shut it down, right? I committed to knowing that there's going to be 3 to 4 months where, income is zero, right?
Yep.
And that was okay with me, because I think it will do us wonders long term.
Yep, I agree. It's the way that we do our properties when we buy them and launch them. And when we're going to do a relaunch, we're making sure we're shutting them down, and it's going to come out exactly how we want it. Because to your point, every single time we buy a property, we want to create this new experience. It's very seldom that we buy properties that are exactly. In fact, I haven't ever bought one that was like that. Now, there's some awesome properties. If we bought one of our Odyssey member properties, we might leave it as is and just roll with it. But most of the time, we're creating this completely different experience, and we just want to start from scratch. Yeah, that's awesome. So, Tess, so that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now. So, what do we have plans for a huge portfolio? Are we going to try to buy one a year? Like, what is the trajectory for moving forward after this property?
Yeah, so I would like to buy at least 2 properties a year would be ideal for me. My husband's already pimping me out to, some of his buddies and, talking like, oh, let's go to Green Bay. Let's go to College Station. Right. And like every day I walk into the kitchen and he's like, have you seen this property? I'm like, whoa, like slow down, babe.
Yeah,
well, one
awesome.
property at a time. But yeah, once we get this one launched, I would seriously like to start looking at acquisition number 2. So I would hope to buy that property sometime in either fall or winter of this year, and then really rinse and repeat that for the next 3 years. So at least 1, if not 2 properties per year. My focus at this point is, I don't want to just say college towns, Sean, but I'm more of an investment buyer at this point. So I do want to like where I'm investing. I want to visit there, once, twice a year, but I am not at a point where I'm like, I have to have that cabin. I really, really want that cabin, Sean, right? I want Fall, Idaho, right? I want to go to not Vail, Colorado, because that just wouldn't make sense, but somewhere around Vail, like that's the dream. And I know that I will be able to get there once I have a solid foundation of investment rentals, right? That will help me get there, right? So that's kind of the plan. 2 a year.
Love it. Yep. And I want to just, I know that we're running, toward the end of the episode, but I want to really kind of put a exclamation point on that topic, is because so many people say, they hear me talk about, hey, these are lifestyle assets, buy in areas that you're interested in, that you'd want to own a vacation home. And then we have these conversations of saying, hey, listen, I'm strictly more of an investment buyer. Like you mentioned, when we go through in the very beginning and planning this out, we try to identify, are we strictly investment buyers? Are we lifestyle buyers? Are we retirement buyers? Like what is our property goals so we can identify them? But even for the investment buyer, I always say still buy in areas that you would enjoy buying, like that, because when you set them up, right, you love college sports, right? You love college athletes and that game. So you're saying, okay, I like the college towns because I feel like I can go set up this great experience in all of these different areas. You could literally rinse and repeat the same thing you're doing in South Bend in all of those other areas that you mentioned, because the target audience is similar, right? And the process is going to be similar, but you understand that world because you came from that world. Right. I love outdoor type areas. I love national parks and state parks. So a lot of my properties are outside of those areas because that's what I enjoy doing. Not necessarily because I may or may not use those properties very often. At this stage, we try to use all of our properties, but you get to the point and you've got you've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Sometimes we're just not traveling as much as we were hoping we could do, right? And but there's still properties that you get excited about. There's still properties that you're interested in setting the experience up because you understand that experience, and you can rinse and repeat that as an investor buyer, but still create this amazing experience that doesn't fall flat when you're talking to a target audience that you wouldn't maybe. Sometimes if you don't understand the target audience, it falls flat if you're trying to set an experience up for somebody you don't understand. And so you still are part of your target audience, right? And you understand them, even though it's not the cabin, it's not the lake house in McCall or the ski house up in the mountains in Colorado, right? But that building a solid portfolio is going to get you closer to those types of lifestyle assets that maybe are a little bit more on the lifestyle side, and expensive areas that maybe don't cash flow as well, but they're going to be, you're going to have the ability to buy those because of this portfolio you're building. So I love it. And I love talking about that because so many people ask that question of, well, I might not use it, and this is a great conversation, an example of, you might not use them that often, but you still understand that target audience. You still understand that experience that you're putting together. And so I like that you brought that up, and we could kind of put an exclamation on that point that you were making there, because it's an important question that a lot of people have.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I talk to a lot of people who are, I don't want to call them closed-minded, but they're dead set on the lifestyle asset, right? And look, I was too when I first started thinking about short-term rentals, right? I wanted to be in the West Coast, right, in the mountain towns. And when I started looking, I was like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't fit, where I'm at today. It will. I firmly believe that. It will. Yeah. So I found another path that still filled my cup, right? I am a part of the demographic. I am a part of that ideal guest. It brings me a lot of joy. So it's like I figured out the right path, through, all of the coaching, right, that I've been through with you guys. Right. It's like you can find your path, and it's not always what you exactly thought it was when you walked into this game.
And it's not going to be the same as somebody else's, right? And that's what I love about any sort of investment. Like when we're running down a road, we could follow the same plan, the same blueprint, everything else, but our portfolios in this game can look completely different. And it's one of the things I love about the short-term rental game as well, because it's going to be based on the property goals and what the outcome we're chasing. We can set that portfolio up to reach those goals, and it might be a little bit different than somebody else's portfolio because they're in a different spot and they're looking for different things.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome, Tess. Listen, we're going to wrap it up today. At the end of every episode, though, I always give you guys a chance to say, if you could go back and say, we made some, you already kind of said I wouldn't change anything, but if you could go back, if you could learn some of those lessons, if you could tell your younger self, here's what I would do to accelerate the process. Here's what I would do maybe a little bit different. Or here's something I might pay attention to, or just some advice that you could give your younger self, because a lot of times we have people listening that, you're a few steps ahead of in the game. And it's nice to hear from somebody that's been down the road, maybe a little bit further than we have.
Absolutely.
What do you have anything that comes to mind on that?
Oh, that was a question. Sorry. Here's where I was thought you were wrapping up. But, in terms of just don't let the fear hold you back. Right. There's going to be a lot that happens along the journey. And one thing that even we talk about, Sean, is you got to have a firm understanding of your why. Right. Yeah. Because excuse my language, but shit will happen, right? Yeah. And the journey's going to be hard. There's going to be bumps along the road. And when those things happen, if you don't have a firm grounding, right, and understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, it'll be hard to move forward, and it's easy to get off the path, right? But when you understand, really why it is what you're doing, it's simple, right? You just put the next step forward and you keep on going. Right. Yeah. So that's my advice. Know why you're doing what you're doing. Have the deeper understanding of it. Because all of this is hard, right? If it wasn't hard, Sean, everyone would be doing it, you know? But I will tell you, it makes it a lot easier when you've got a model to follow, but there's going to be hiccups in the process. Yes. So, have that deeper understanding of why you're doing what you're doing. So that when it gets tough, right, you keep going.
Yeah. And because if you don't, the tendency is just to hold up the white flag, right? If you don't have a reason to keep going, why would you keep going, right? You have to have that deeper understanding, the why, like you said, and a reason to keep marching forward. Because as much as social media makes it sound like everything's really easy to make money, I don't know, maybe these guys had an easier path than I did. It wasn't. It's a hard road. Right. But it wasn't always, Lamborghinis and $100 bills getting thrown around in private jets. Right. But when we watch on social media, we think, well, shit, what's wrong with me? I tried this and it was hard and I had these problems and maybe I'm doing it wrong because when I look on social media, it looks really, really easy. Right. And that's not the case. And that's one of the things why I love having these types of conversations is because when you do have an understanding of why you want to do it, one, you're going to battle through the actual hard times. And then you actually do come into the $100 bills, passing around and the Lamborghinis and that stuff. But that's down the line, right? And it wasn't, none of that stuff comes without some hard times ahead of it. Yeah, because you're going to have to battle through the challenges, no matter how well laid out plan you're following and what you're doing. And the nice thing about what I love about Vodacy and our family is, there's other people that have gone through similar things. And sometimes when you're running around a corner and a dragon jumps out, if it's the first time we've ever seen a dragon, we're really scared. But when somebody else is biased, it's like, oh, I saw that dragon last week. I know how to kill it. Right.
Right.
And that's what's nice. It doesn't mean the dragon's not there. It just means that there might be somebody to help you that saw that before you and knows how to get past it.
Absolutely.
And so it's, but you're never going to, if a dragon jumps out and you're like, hey, I'm walking up this for somebody else and I don't know why I'm running up this hill. The minute you get tired or there's a roadblock, you're like, I'm going to go back down. This isn't worth it. Right. And so I love that piece of advice. And so Tess, we're going to wrap it up. I love these conversations. I could talk all day long about this stuff. I'm excited to see the Notre Dame property come to life and launch here really shortly. Those of you that are listening, we always post the property links in the show notes. And so if this publishes before the property's launch, we always update it. So if it's after the 1st or middle of March, go double check Tess's property out. And if you're going to be in South Bend anytime soon, go check it out for one of the events they've got going on. And you'll have a lot of fun at the Golden Dome, right? And so it'll be a fun property to see you launch. And then I'm excited to see what you do moving forward this year as we add 1 or 2 more properties. And so, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We always appreciate you spending your time with us. I know how valuable your time is, and it always means a lot that you spend it with us. And so at the end of every episode, I always ask you 2 favors. The first one is, if you got any value out of this, if you enjoyed the show, like it, share it, leave us a review. Those things really do help us and help us grow the show, spread the message to other people that are interested in walking into the short-term rental game with their eyes wide open. They can listen to great conversations listen to journeys like Tess shared today, because those things make a difference when we're running down any road the first time. And then the final thing that I always ask you, and I feel like is the most important thing, is to go pick that one thing you can do today, start building that life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website? Yes! For more amazing content and expert advice, visit Vodacy.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.